Okay, hello everyone. So, there's just something I want to talk about real quick before we get into this. This is the fourth week in a row that I've done the devlog, and I think I'm going to be switching to either like a monthly schedule or something because I don't want it to be too repetitive for people that are following. I want to bring more actual progress in these devlogs. So I'm happy with doing the 4 weeks in a row. It was really fun to do. I'm not slowing down the project or anything. It's just Fridays are one of my only days off. So it's one of the only days that I really have to like grind out stuff. And by doing the weekly devlog, I've found that I'm like using that Friday to work on the video instead of get as much done on the project as I can. So I'm kind of feeling out the situation, and if it's fine with you guys, then I'm going to be doing monthly or probably monthly. I'm going to see what maybe bi-weekly, I don't know. I'm going to see how it goes, but that Friday is being used just for the video almost, and it could be used for the project itself. So by doing this, I think it'll be a more positive move for the project, as it allows me to allocate my free time more towards the development and not just editing the video. But I want to stress the fact that, like I said, this doesn't mean it's slowing down. It doesn't mean I'm not working on it. It's on the contrary, actually, because I'm going to be able to get more done on my day off. So in a way, it's kind of like a balancing act, because on one hand, I feel like I owe it to anybody who's invested in the project that I bring them as many updates as I can. But at the same time, it's also like I would rather bring them better quality content with more to look through and more to kind of use for their time, instead of just kind of dragging things out throughout these videos. And that kind of creates a situation where people might have to spend hours catching up on stuff. Like if they didn't watch for, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 weeks. Instead of spending hours to kind of go through all those videos, they could just see everything in one video that's kind of condensed down and easier to follow. But let's get into some of these topics. So I've had a few people come forward and ask about testing and that are interested in getting their hands on the project early. And like I said, for now, it's just like super close, like people who are super close to me are doing the testing and whatnot, because I don't want to give like bad first impressions. But as I'm adding more and as I'm working on this and getting it to more of a playable state, I totally am going to be bringing more people in. So I think that's awesome that more people are asking about it, and I am super interested in getting this out to more people. And oh, look at that, another crash. Yeah, we lost all that you just watched. That was like a few hours of work. It's no big deal though. This is actually where I realized, oh, I just lost all that. I redid it as to the best of my ability, at least. It's a little different, but I think that's kind of the beauty of missing something that you worked on. You can kind of make changes and it turns out to be different than it was. So all that you just watched is lost, but I do build that all back up and you can see it later on in the video. But yeah, with me bringing out the version 0.1.2, I'm going to be bringing in even more testers. And then I kind of want to, with each version that's coming out, I want to bring in more and more people as the project grows and becomes a better product. And here on the screen, we can see I'm having a few issues, but I do get it sorted out. I'm trying to get more like types of vegetation, because I want places to be more interesting and I want biomes to feel unique and all this stuff I've talked about already. With this, I'm trying to kind of experiment with optimizing it a little bit. As you can see, I have like a bunch of models kind of mashed together here. And then with Blender, I'm trying to like combine the meshes, and I'm trying to make it so that it's one draw call instead of like 80. So it's all trial and error, and a couple of times that I've tried it didn't work and it was kind of laggy, and then I tried it a different way and it worked. I don't really know what I'm doing here. This is kind of new to me, but it is cool to see some progress in this area and just kind of what I'm learning and trying to incorporate. But yeah, none of this is the final product at all. I'm just kind of showing what I'm doing with experimenting and adding a few more types of foliage and trying to get some more biome specific stuff. But yeah, for this I was trying to just get like a super dense grass / weeds kind of thing going on. Something like you'd see in the wild, as the base grass and vegetation for Game Guru is pretty sparse, as of right now at least. And this isn't something that I'm going to be placing like all over the map. This is just like in specific little areas that I want to be more detailed kind of thing. So I'm trying to see with what I can come up with. And then here you can see some gun spec text files up on the screen. And I'm trying to get more of the weapons have that like sway and delay like you can see here. I definitely overdid it. It shouldn't be this high and this fast. It's moving around way too unnatural. And then here we got some questing stuff I've been working on and playing around with. This is like a super basic little kind of test. And I wanted to see just how the questing worked, and I still got a bunch I gotta learn. The barrel doesn't even explode for some reason, but I just wanted to see how it kind of worked. So we just have this like super bare bones, see how that would play out, and then what I can incorporate to bigger quests. And all of the HUD screens that have to do with questing and dialogue all need to be changed. I haven't even touched those yet. Those are just the base Game Guru selection screens and all that. I want the game to have its own theme like I've talked about, and that we can see in the menus and stuff that I've been playing around with later on. But back to the sway, I pick up a gun that does not have it, and then I show the gun that does have it, and you can see it's like night and day. I still need to dial it back an insane amount, but just having like that sway kind of makes it feel more smooth in a way, if that makes sense. I'm not quite sure what it is. It's just it kind of feels less stiff. And I mean, it definitely looks less stiff. And when I dial it back a little bit, it should be much more natural looking. Because I mean, especially in real life, when you're flinging a gun around, it's not going to stay perfectly center to what you're looking at all times, and you kind of notice that effect and that feeling in real life a lot when you're like snapping around between targets. So it's more dynamic, and I wanted to make Game Guru feel a little less stiff, because on the surface it is just an engine. Like, it's not gonna make a good game for you. You need to put in the work and use the engine to its full potential. And obviously I'm not using the engine to its full potential. I'm still learning. Like, this is really early for me, but you can unlock so many doors just by experimenting with little things like that. And then aside from like making a zone that is NCCO themed, which I do have planned, by the way, I'm working on one of those smaller operations maps. I don't know how I would be able to fit that into the story right now, but it would be cool to kind of see a perspective from the NCCO, not playing as them, but just kind of where they're held up more in the Arctic. They're gonna have like their own architecture that's much different from other parts of the game. I'm kind of doing like a placeholder for a little NCCO base, kind of like a forward operating base within the backcountry. It's super small, and it does reuse assets that are used in other locations, which I would like to replace eventually. But I wanted to lay out a little bit of a placeholder for a location that's going to be mixed into the story. It's got a lot of work's got to be done to it. It's still super place it down and come back and work on it, sort of like I've been doing with everything else in the project. But it is definitely kind of cool so far to get locations have meanings, especially that tie into the story and the lore. And then this spot here is kind of in a little dense forest area, and I wanted to put something here because it's kind of like a T-junction of the main road and one of the trails that goes off to the raider camp. But I thought I would put like a little post office there or something. And then you can see like this forest around is starting to get much more detailed and looking a lot better. It's slowly coming along. It takes time. It's gonna look a lot better than this, but we're definitely getting somewhere. And then I've brought this up before, but there's sort of like a little temporary fix that I've had to do with optics. You can see that it's like black around the edges, and that's because I had to kind of make this model work. Maybe going into Blender and switching materials and stuff might fix it, but the optic that was on this model was not working at all. It was not transparent, and I'm sure there's a bunch of different fixes that I can do, but just to have more like playable weapons that are not totally fine-tuned and their animations are clunky and all that, but still having more playable weapons to be tested. This is just like a temporary fix. I'm hoping to bring in the more like real-time rendered optics, as you see with some of the other weapons, where it doesn't black out the screen when you're aiming. Also, you can see here that I found a weird collision. There's nothing here, but for some reason there's like some sort of invisible wall there, so I'm gonna have to come back and fix that by adding something there just to make it make sense. But yeah, that's for the animations. That's nothing against BSP animations. It's just simply a lot of this stuff was made for Game Guru Classic, and when you bring it over to Max, it has all sorts of different issues. So I'm gonna need to kind of smooth out as much as I can and see what I can do. In terms of drag and drop, like a lot of these do work. Some are just completely broken, but the main thing is like it's not translating that well into Max. You can see that with like the animations being a little choppy in areas, and just some materials are off and stuff like that. And it's not BSP doing something wrong. It's just the fact that it's a completely different engine. As for the fix for this collision, I had to get a little creative because I checked everything I could think of. There was no invisible trees here. The model itself of the garage seemed to be fine. So I just had to put like some pallets down or put something down that looks like it would make sense being there. Because having like an invisible wall doesn't really work in like a high traffic area like that where you're going to be coming in and out. And then there's this pretty cool like factory kind of thing that I would like to use. Probably in like Greenport. I don't know. I just like the design of it and everything, but the stairs are a little messed up, and there's some other things that I've run into where the stairs are messed up, and I've had some fixes like putting in extra beams. For this, an idea that I have is possibly getting like a piece of plywood or anything that's like flat and long, and then putting it on an angle up the stairs, having the collision turned on, and then having the actual visibility of the model turned off, such as just sliding alpha collision all the way off, or alpha clipping, I mean. By doing this, I think it'll give you a better surface to walk up the stairs. It's not so choppy, but I'm gonna have to play with that and smooth it out. And then due to Justin's feedback, NPC speeds, their defaults for their animation speeds and their movement speeds have been adjusted to be slightly slower. Right now it's looking like a little twitchy, so I gotta try to sort that out, but having it slower already looks a little natural, and we're definitely moving in the right direction. And then next up, we have two super weird engine bugs that I've run into. These could be user error. I could have accidentally placed a group like super low into the ground, but I have this huge hole in the map that I cannot get rid of. I've tried many different things. Going down to the bottom takes like 5 minutes. This is super sped up, but I've deleted this stuff down at the bottom, and it helped it a little bit. It closed the hole up a little bit, but then I noticed there was a bunch of stuff even under the train that I could not access. Even if I tried to lower the train to get to it, it still wouldn't let me select it or delete it. So it could have been caused by user error, but I genuinely have no idea how to fix this. So something that I did to kind of work around it was get it as small as possible, and then just place some rocks over it. And this is super placeholder. This is like a band-aid. I gotta make it look a lot better later on. But yeah, it's quite frustrating because if this starts happening more, it makes me wonder where else in the map is gonna get ruined. Like I had to kind of move the path around and go around the rocks because there's no way to select and delete the stuff that's down there. Even if I remove the ground around it and try to select it, it just won't. So I'm not sure why that's happening, but we got to make do with what we got, and I'm gonna come back to this and make it look a lot nicer. Until I find out more about this, see this as just like a temporary fix. Looking through backups, it looks like I did not catch this quick enough, unfortunately, so I gotta just leave it. And then this is another super annoying bug. For some reason, it just keeps deleting my logic settings and my global behaviors for this level specifically. So I'm gonna have to look at an old backup and copy everything over each time that I want to release a playtest. And you can even see on the right hand side, it's like totally glitching out. It's just twitching everywhere. It doesn't know what to do. Back to some more changes. I'm trying to work on like a theme for this game in terms of UI, because I want it to have its own identity like I've talked about before. This is another little issue that I'm running into. For some reason, the high on graphics settings is just stuck on the selected. I've tried switching it around. I've tried making it a completely different icon. Whatever the case is, it's like sticking on selected, whereas the other buttons, you can hover over it. So I gotta try to maybe place a new button down and see what we can do there. But I'm liking this new theme. It's kind of geometric and simple. It's clean looking. A lot of these are the futuristic HUDs, or cyberpunk HUDs, I forget which one it is specifically. I'm going to be making some changes in Photoshop just to, again, create my own theme here. Already it's looking kind of cool. But that's all for this week, so thank you to anybody who stayed till the end. I'm going to leave you with this little outro like I usually do, and I'm looking forward to just bringing you more and better updates. Like I said, with the more spread out schedule, I'm hoping to bring you more compact and bigger devlogs, which I think will just be more enjoyable for viewers. So yeah, again, thank you, and I hope everyone has a good day.